The Aboriginal peoples of Australia, often called Aborigines or Aboriginal Australians, represent one of the oldest continuous cultural traditions in the world. Archaeological evidence suggests that the ancestors of the Aboriginal peoples arrived in Australia about 50,000 to 65,000 years ago. These early migrants likely came from regions of Southeast Asia and reached the continent by travelling across chains of islands, at a time when sea levels were lower than today. After arriving, Aboriginal groups gradually spread across the entire continent and adapted to many different environments, from deserts and grasslands to tropical forests and coastal regions. For Aboriginal peoples, Australia was not simply a place to live, but a sacred world shaped by ancestral forces. Their belief system included the idea often called the dream time, a sacred era in which ancestral beings created the land, animals, and human societies. According to these traditions, the ancestors formed mountains, rivers, and other natural features, and their spiritual presence continues to exist within the landscape. A river, a rock formation, or a tree could therefore be understood as a sign of ancestral activity, rather than just a natural object. This belief created a strong spiritual connection between Aboriginal peoples and their land. Aboriginal society was not a single unified culture, but consisted of many different communities. Before European colonisation, it is estimated that around 250 different languages were spoken across Australia. Each group had its own traditions, stories, and territory. These territories were considered sacred inheritances that had to be protected and respected. The great diversity of languages and customs shows how varied Aboriginal cultures were across the continent. The traditional way of life of Aboriginal peoples was closely connected to the natural environment. Most Aboriginal groups lived as hunter-gatherers. Men often hunted animals such as kangaroos and emus, while women gathered plants, seeds, and roots. Fishing was also important in many coastal and river regions. Aboriginal people possessed detailed knowledge of their environment and moved according to seasonal patterns. These movements followed established routes and territories that were passed down through generations. Aboriginal technology included a wide range of stone tools. Stone axes, knives, and spear points were used in everyday life. One of the best-known Aboriginal weapons is the boomerang. Some boomerangs were designed to return to the thrower, but many were intended to fly straight and strike animals during hunting. Spears and spear-throwing devices were also widely used and allowed hunters to strike from a distance with great accuracy. These tools reflect a highly developed understanding of materials and hunting techniques. Oral tradition played a central role in Aboriginal culture. Knowledge was preserved through stories, songs, and ceremonies. Elders passed on the traditions of the ancestors to younger generations. These stories were not only meant to entertain, but also to teach social rules and moral behaviour. Although Aboriginal peoples did not develop a writing system, their oral traditions preserved history and cultural knowledge over thousands of years. Art was an important expression of Aboriginal culture. Rock paintings and engravings found across Australia date back thousands of years. These images often depict animals, people, and spiritual beings. Many artworks represent stories connected with the dream time and the actions of ancestral beings. Body painting and ceremonial decorations were also important parts of cultural expression. These artistic traditions provide insight into how Aboriginal peoples understood their world. Aboriginal societies were organised according to complex social rules. Kinship systems determined relationships between individuals and defined obligations within the community. Marriage rules were carefully regulated in order to maintain social balance. Each person had a defined place within the group, and elders were highly respected as guardians of tradition and knowledge. The arrival of Europeans marked a major turning point in Aboriginal history. In 1788, the British established their first permanent colony in the region of Sydney. This event had devastating consequences for Aboriginal communities. European settlers occupied large areas of land, reducing the territories available to Aboriginal peoples. Diseases introduced by Europeans, such as smallpox, caused severe population losses and destroyed many communities. During the 19th century, conflicts between Aboriginal groups and European settlers occurred in many regions. Aboriginal people were often forced off their lands and lost their traditional ways of life. In some cases, Aboriginal children were taken from their families and raised within European society. These children later became known as the stolen generations, a term used to describe one of the most painful chapters in Aboriginal history. In the 20th century, important changes began to take place regarding Aboriginal rights. For many years, Aboriginal peoples had been excluded from full citizenship and political recognition. In 1967, a national referendum officially recognised Aboriginal peoples as part of the population of Australia. This event became a major turning point in the struggle for equality and legal recognition. Today, Aboriginal peoples remain an important part of Australian society. Many communities continue to preserve their traditions and cultural practices. Dreamtime stories, ceremonies, and artistic traditions are still alive. Modern Aboriginal people often seek to balance their traditional identity with participation in contemporary life.